Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his cargo ship and watched the stars disappear. One by one, the bright dots in space went dark as huge alien ships moved between Earth and the galaxy. He had been flying cargo runs between Earth and the outer colonies for 15 years, but he had never seen anything like this. The communication system crackled to life. A harsh voice spoke in perfect English, though Jake knew it came from something that was not human. "Attention, human vessels! You will stop all movement and prepare for inspection. Your species has violated the natural order of the galaxy." Jake looked at his crew. His navigator, Lisa Hayes, was staring at her screens with wide eyes. The readings showed massive ships surrounding the entire solar system. These were not the usual Federation patrol vessels that humans had grown used to seeing. These were warships, and there were hundreds of them. "Captain," Lisa said quietly, "the readings don't make sense. These ships are bigger than anything in the Federation database. And there are so many of them." The alien voice spoke again. "This is High Arbiter Zekth of the Zephyrian Empire. Your species has shown dangerous ambition. You have developed technologies beyond your station. You have forgotten your place in the galaxy." Jake had heard rumors about the Zephyrians. They were insects that walked on two legs and ruled over dozens of other alien species. Most humans had never seen one, but everyone knew they were the real power behind the Galactic Federation. If the Zephyrians were here in force, something very bad was about to happen. "All human vessels will dock at the nearest Zephyrian ship for processing," the voice continued. "Any attempt to flee will result in destruction. You have 30 minutes to comply." Ryan Parker was aboard the diplomatic ship Peacemaker when the ultimatum came. As Earth's chief ambassador to the Federation, he had spent years building relationships with alien species. He had thought those relationships meant something. Now he watched as Federation ships joined the Zephyrian blockade instead of helping humanity. The Peacemaker's captain, Danny Cooper, shook his head as he read the scanner results. "Sir, I count over 3,000 alien ships surrounding our system. They've got us completely cut off." Ryan had seen military blockades before, but this was different. This was not meant to last for days or weeks. The aliens were setting up permanent positions. They were building something around the solar system, some kind of energy barrier that would keep humanity trapped forever. "Get me a channel to the Zephyrian flagship," Ryan ordered. "If they want to talk, we'll talk." The main screen flickered and showed the inside of an alien ship. High Arbiter Zeketh looked like a giant mantis wearing ceremonial armor. Its forearms moved constantly as it spoke, and its compound eyes reflected the light in strange ways. "Ambassador Parker," Zeketh said, "your species has become a problem. 200 years ago, we allowed you to join galactic civilization as laborers and soldiers. You were supposed to remain in that role forever." "We've followed all Federation laws," Ryan replied. "We've contributed to galactic society. We've earned our place among the stars." Zeketh made a sound that might have been laughter. "Earned? Your species innovates too quickly. You adapt too fast. You ask too many questions. Other species look at humanity and begin to wonder why they accept Zephyrian rule. This cannot continue." The alien leaned forward. "You will surrender all advanced technology immediately. You will accept permanent Zephyrian oversight of all human activities. You will abandon all colonies beyond your home system. These are not negotiations. These are commands." Ryan felt his heart sink. "And if we refuse, then you will remain trapped in this system until your species learns wisdom. We have deployed quantum interdiction fields around your star. No ship can enter or leave. No message can be sent beyond the barrier. You will have no contact with the galaxy until you submit." Lisa Hayes was at the Lunar Research Station when the barrier activated. She was studying alien plant samples when every communication device in the facility went dead. The quantum field Generators that the Zephyrians had placed at the edge of the solar system created a wall that nothing could pass through. She ran to the observation deck and looked out at space. The stars were still there, but somehow they felt impossibly far away. Earth's radio telescopes could no longer detect signals from other worlds. The hyperspace beacons that guided ships between star systems had vanished from their sensors. "We're completely cut off," her assistant Kevin Walsh said as he joined her at the window. "The field extends in all directions. It's like someone built a wall around our entire solar system." Lisa thought about her children back on Earth. She thought about the billions of humans who had never done anything wrong except be born into a species that asked too many questions. The aliens wanted to keep humanity locked up like animals in a zoo. 3 days later, President Maria Rodriguez addressed the world from the United Nations building in New York. Her speech was broadcast to every human settlement in the solar system, but it could go no further than that. "My fellow humans," she began, "we face the greatest challenge in our history. The Zephyrian Empire has cut us off from the galaxy because they fear what we might become. They want us to accept permanent slavery. They want us to give up our dreams of exploration and discovery." She paused and looked directly into the camera. "I have a message for the Zephyrians. Humanity has never accepted slavery. We have never given up when faced with impossible odds. You think you know us, but you have only seen what we wanted you to see." President Rodriguez smiled, and there was something dangerous in that smile. "You wanted to cut us off from the stars. You wanted to trap us in our home system. You have made a very serious mistake. You have given us time to prepare." As she spoke, deep beneath the surface of Earth, lights began to turn on in facilities that had been dark for decades. The Zeus protocol was about to begin. 6 months had passed since the Zephyrians trapped humanity in their home system. Most people thought Earth was helpless, cut off from the galaxy forever. They were wrong. Dr. Kevin Walsh walked through corridors that officially did not exist. The Deep Sky Research Facility was built 3 miles beneath the Rocky Mountains, hidden from every satellite and sensor that had ever scanned Earth. He had worked here for 20 years, and most of the human government did not know this place was real. President Rodriguez followed him through the steel corridors, her security team staying close behind. She had received Kevin's message 3 days ago, delivered through channels so secret that even she had not known they existed. Now, she was seeing things that changed everything she thought she knew about humanity's capabilities. "Madam President," Kevin said as they walked, "what I'm about to show you has been in development for over 50 years. We started this project the day humans first made contact with alien civilizations. They stopped in front of a massive steel door marked with warnings in 12 languages. Kevin placed his hand on a scanner, and the door slid open with a soft hiss. Beyond it lay a chamber the size of a football stadium, filled with machinery that hummed with barely contained power. "Welcome to the Zeus Protocol," Kevin said. "Zeus was the king of the gods in ancient mythology. He controlled lightning and ruled the sky. We chose that name because this project is about taking control of humanity's destiny among the stars." President Rodriguez stared at the massive room. Hundreds of technicians worked at stations around enormous machines that seemed to bend light around their edges. The air itself felt different here, charged with energy that made her skin tingle. Amy Foster stepped forward from one of the workstations. She wore the uniform of a colonel, but President Rodriguez had never seen her name on any military roster. Amy saluted and began her report without waiting for questions. "Madam President, the Zeus Protocol encompasses 12 classified facilities across Earth, Mars, and the asteroid belt. We have been developing weapons and ship designs that violate 17 different galactic treaties. The Zephyrians and their allies have no idea what we're capable of." Amy led them to a holographic display that showed the solar system. Red dots marked the Zephyrian blockade ships, but green dots showed something else. Hidden bases that had been built in complete secrecy, using resources diverted from official projects over decades. We have production facilities on Titan that have been building new ships for 30 years, Amy continued. Our research station on Europa has developed faster-than-light drives that don't use hyperspace routes. The aliens control hyperspace, but we found other ways to travel between stars. Dr. Nicole Barnes joined them at the display. She had been one of the Federation's top scientists before she disappeared 5 years ago. Everyone thought she had died in a research accident. In reality, she had been recruited by the Zeus project and had been working on humanity's secret weapons ever since. The aliens think they understand human technology, Nicole explained. They've seen our official ships and weapons. They know about our public research projects. What they don't know is that we've been hiding our real capabilities from the beginning. She touched the holographic display, and it showed detailed plans for ships unlike anything in the official Federation database. These vessels were sleek and dangerous, covered in armor that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. We've been reverse engineering alien technology for generations, Nicole said. Every crashed ship, every abandoned piece of equipment, every sample we could get our hands on. We've taken their designs and improved them in ways they never imagined. President Rodriguez found her voice. How many people know about this? Kevin answered. Approximately 50,000 humans across all facilities. Scientists, engineers, military personnel, industrial workers, all sworn to absolute secrecy, all working toward the day when humanity would need to defend itself. Danny Cooper appeared on one of the communication screens. He was aboard a ship near Jupiter, but the ship he commanded was not listed in any official registry. The vessel around him looked like it had been built by aliens, but there were human modifications everywhere. President Rodriguez, Danny said, I'm commanding the prototype vessel Lightning Strike. We've been testing new propulsion systems in the outer system for 6 months. The Zephyrians have no idea we're here. The ship on Danny's screen was beautiful and terrifying. It moved through space without any visible engines, surrounded by a field that bent light around it. When it changed direction, it seemed to simply appear in its new position without crossing the space between. How is that possible? President Rodriguez asked. Dr. Patricia Morgan stepped forward from another workstation. She had been working on theoretical physics problems that the Federation had declared impossible to solve. Her research had been officially discontinued years ago, but she had continued working in secret. We've learned to manipulate space-time itself, Patricia explained. The aliens use hyperspace for faster-than-light travel, but hyperspace is just one layer of reality. We've found ways to access deeper layers, dimensions that allow us to move through space in ways that seem like magic. She showed the president recordings from test flights, human ships disappearing from one location and appearing in another instantly, weapons that fired energy beams through multiple dimensions at once, defensive systems that made ships partially invisible to sensors and weapons. Rick Turner was commanding another test ship near Saturn. His vessel, called Earth's Hammer, was designed specifically for combat against alien warships. It carried weapons that could destroy targets at the molecular level and armor that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. We've been preparing for this day since first contact, Rick said through the communication system. Every human who ever wondered if the aliens really had humanity's best interests at heart. Every scientist who was told their research was too dangerous. Every military officer who thought we were too dependent on alien protection. President Rodriguez sat down heavily in a nearby chair. The scale of what she was seeing was almost impossible to understand. Humanity had built a secret military and scientific infrastructure that rivaled anything in the galaxy, and they had done it while appearing completely harmless to alien observers. How long until we're ready? She asked. Kevin checked his displays. We can begin operations immediately. We have 50 prototype warships ready for combat, with production facilities capable of building hundreds more. Our intelligence network has identified key Zephyrian installations throughout the galaxy. We know where they're vulnerable. General Helen Martinez appeared on another screen. She was coordinating with resistance movements on alien worlds, humans, and non-humans who were tired of Zephyrian rule. The network she had built over decades was finally ready to act. "The galaxy is full of species that hate the Zephyrians," Helen said. "They've been waiting for someone strong enough to stand up to the insect empire. When we make our move, we won't be alone." President Rodriguez stood up and looked around the vast chamber. 50 years of preparation, 50 years of secret work, by the best minds humanity had ever produced. The Zephyrians thought they had trapped a primitive species in their home system. Instead, they had given humanity time to prepare for war. "Activate the Zeus protocol," she ordered. "It's time to show the galaxy what humans are really capable of." 9 months after the blockade began, strange things started happening at the edge of the solar system. Zephyrian sensor operators noticed tiny blips on their screens, readings that appeared for a few seconds and then vanished. High Arbiter Zekth dismissed these reports as equipment failures. Rick Turner sat in the command chair of Earth's Hammer as his ship prepared for its first real test. The vessel had been built in secret facilities on Mars, using technology that combined human innovation with alien science in ways that had never been tried before. Today, they would find out if their theories actually worked. "All systems ready, Captain," reported his navigator, Stephen Davis. The bridge crew was small, only 12 people, but each of them had trained for this moment for years. They knew they were about to attempt something that the aliens said was impossible. "Activate quantum tunnel drive," Rick ordered. The ship around them seemed to shimmer and fade. Space outside the windows became strange, filled with colors that had no names and shapes that hurt to look at directly. Earth's Hammer was no longer traveling through normal space. It was moving through deeper layers of reality, dimensions that existed beneath the fabric of the universe. The Zephyrian blockade ships detected nothing. Their sensors were designed to watch hyperspace and normal space, but the human ship was traveling through quantum tunnels that the aliens did not know existed. Earth's Hammer passed through their energy barriers like they were made of air. Suddenly, the ship burst into open space beyond the solar system. Rick looked at his displays and smiled. They had done it. They had broken through the most advanced blockade in galactic history, and the aliens had no idea anything had happened. "Take us back," Rick ordered. "Let's see if we can do it again." The ship disappeared back into quantum space and reappeared near Earth 15 minutes later. The test was a complete success. Humanity now had ships that could travel anywhere in the galaxy without using hyperspace routes that the aliens controlled. Dr. Patricia Morgan was monitoring the test from the Deep Sky facility when her communications array activated. Signals began pouring in from across the galaxy, messages that had been waiting for months to be delivered. Her secret network of observation drones was finally able to report what they had discovered. The drones were smaller than marbles, disguised as space debris and scattered throughout the galaxy over the past century. Most alien species ignored them completely, assuming they were just rocks floating in space. In reality, each drone was a sophisticated spy device that recorded everything happening in its area. "Kevin, you need to see this," Patricia called to Dr. Walsh. "The intelligence reports are coming in. The holographic display filled with data from dozens of star systems. Zephyrian military bases, industrial facilities, government centers, and communication networks. The drones had been watching and recording for decades, building a complete picture of how the insect empire really worked." "Look at this," Patricia said, pointing to military readiness reports. "The Zephyrians have most of their fleet spread thin across the galaxy. They're using fear and the threat of overwhelming force to keep other species in line, but they don't actually have enough ships to fight a real war." Kevin studied the data. "Their technology hasn't advanced in over 1,000 years. They've been using the same ship designs, the same weapons, the same tactics because no one has ever seriously challenged them." More reports flowed in from the observation network. Species throughout the galaxy were growing restless under Zephyrian rule. The insects had made many enemies over the centuries, but those enemies had never been able to coordinate resistance efforts. Until now, Captain Julia Brooks was testing another prototype ship near Jupiter when the first intelligence briefing reached her. Her vessel, the Liberty Bell, was designed as a fast attack craft capable of taking on ships many times its size. The weapon systems alone represented advances that would have shocked the aliens. "Command, this is Liberty Bell," Julia reported. "We're reading massive Zephyrian fleet movements in the Rigel sector. Looks like they're pulling ships from border patrol duty to reinforce the blockade around Earth." General Helen Martinez was coordinating resistance movements from a hidden base in the asteroid belt. Her network included humans scattered throughout the galaxy, but also members of alien species who had been quietly working against Zephyrian rule for generations. "The Korvaxi in the Outer Rim are ready to move," Helen reported. "They've been stockpiling weapons for 50 years, waiting for someone to make the first strike against the Empire. The Deltans have promised to shut down Zephyrian supply lines in their sector." The intelligence picture was becoming clear. The Zephyrian Empire looked powerful from the outside, but it was actually brittle. They controlled the galaxy through fear and overwhelming displays of force, but they had grown lazy and complacent over the centuries. Tony Mitchell was aboard the stealth ship Shadow Walker, conducting reconnaissance missions deep in Zephyrian space. His ship used the same quantum tunnel technology as the other human vessels, allowing him to observe alien installations without being detected. "Command, I'm seeing incredible security failures at major Zephyrian bases," Tony reported. "Their sensor networks haven't been updated in centuries. Their communication systems use encryption that we cracked decades ago. They're not prepared to fight an enemy that can match their technology." Commander Amy Foster was overseeing weapons testing at the secret facility on Titan. The new human weapons were beyond anything the aliens had ever faced. Gravitational disruptors that could tear ships apart at the molecular level, energy weapons that drew power from artificial black holes, defensive systems that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "We're not just going to match alien technology," Amy told her engineering team. "We're going to make it obsolete." The weapons tests were spectacular. Target drones that represented the most advanced alien warships were destroyed in seconds by weapons that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Human ships equipped with quantum armor simply ignored enemy fire, existing partially outside normal space where conventional weapons could not touch them. Dr. Nicole Barnes was analyzing captured alien technology when she made a disturbing discovery. The Zephyrians and their allies had not innovated in any meaningful way for over a millennium. They had been using the same basic designs for everything, from weapons to ships to communication systems. "They've grown stagnant," Nicole reported, to the Zeus command staff. "The aliens have been so focused on maintaining control that they've stopped advancing. Meanwhile, we've been developing new technologies in secret for decades." The full scope of human preparation was finally becoming clear. While appearing to be simple laborers and soldiers for the galactic community, humanity had been building the most advanced military force in known space. Ships that could travel through dimensions the aliens did not know existed. Weapons that could destroy targets in ways that seemed like magic. Defensive systems that made human vessels nearly invulnerable. President Rodriguez reviewed the final intelligence reports from her command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. The Zephyrian Empire controlled hundreds of star systems and dozens of alien species, but their control was based on outdated technology and fear tactics that would not work against a truly advanced enemy. "How long before we can begin offensive operations?" she asked. Kevin checked his status boards. "All prototype ships are ready for combat deployment. Our intelligence network is in position. Resistance movements throughout the galaxy are waiting for our signal." The president looked at the holographic display showing the Zephyrian blockade around Earth. Those ships represented the most powerful military force in the galaxy, according to conventional wisdom. In reality, they were about to face an enemy that would make their technology look like ancient history. The aliens wanted to cut us off from the stars because they thought we were becoming too dangerous, she said. They were right to be afraid. They just have no idea how dangerous we really are. The Zeus protocol was ready. Humanity had spent decades preparing for this moment. The Zephyrians thought they were dealing with primitive newcomers who could be easily controlled. They were about to learn that humans had been planning for this war since the day they first met alien civilizations. 18 months after the blockade began, humanity was ready to show the galaxy what they had been building in secret. Admiral Chris Parker stood on the bridge of the flagship Zeus's Wrath, watching as 50 human warships prepared for Operation Thunderbolt, the first strike against the Zephyrian Empire. The fleet existed in quantum space, invisible to alien sensors. Each ship represented decades of secret research and development, combining human innovation with reverse-engineered alien technology in ways that had never been attempted before. They were about to test their capabilities against the most powerful military force in the galaxy. "All ships report ready," announced Captain Julia Brooks from her destroyer Liberty Bell. "Quantum tunnel drives are charged and targeting systems are locked onto Kepler Station." Kepler Station was a massive Zephyrian supply depot located 400 light-years from Earth. It serviced over 300 alien warships and contained enough weapons and equipment to supply a major military campaign. Intelligence reports indicated that the station was lightly defended, with the aliens never expecting an attack so far from human space. "Remember," Admiral Parker said over the fleet communication system, "this is more than a military operation. This is a message to every species in the galaxy that the age of Zephyrian dominance is ending." The human fleet activated their quantum tunnel drives simultaneously. Reality twisted around them as 50 ships slipped through dimensions that existed beneath normal space. They traveled 400 light-years in less than 10 minutes, emerging from quantum space directly inside the Kepler system. The Zephyrian defenders had perhaps 30 seconds to realize what was happening before the human. Weapons opened fire. Commander Tony Mitchell led the first attack wave, his ship Shadow Walker appearing directly above the main station and launching temporal mines that created localized time distortions. The mines struck Kepler Station's defensive shields and aged them thousands of years in seconds. Metal that had been forged in advanced factories became brittle rust. Energy systems that had operated flawlessly for centuries suddenly failed as their components crumbled into dust. Captain Julia Brooks brought Liberty Bell in for the main assault. Her ship was smaller than the Zephyrian destroyers defending the station, but it carried weapons that made their size irrelevant. The quantum torpedoes that Liberty Bell fired existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, passing through enemy shields as if they were not there. The first Zephyrian destroyer exploded in a ball of blue fire as its fusion reactors overloaded. The alien crew had perhaps 5 seconds to send a distress signal before their ship disintegrated. The message they transmitted made no sense to anyone who received it, describing weapons that violated known physics. Lieutenant Danny Cooper piloted his fighter squadron through the enemy formations using quantum phase technology. His ships could shift in and out of normal space at will, appearing inside enemy vessels to deliver devastating attacks before vanishing again. The Zephyrian point defense systems could not track targets that existed in multiple dimensions. "Command, this is Cooper," he reported as his squadron destroyed 3 enemy cruisers in less than 2 minutes. "Enemy defenses are completely ineffective against our phase technology. They can't hit what they can't see." The battle that the Zephyrians expected to last for hours was over in less than 20 minutes. Kepler Station was a burning wreck, its massive storage facilities destroyed, and its defensive fleet scattered across space as debris. The human attack had been so swift and devastating that most alien personnel never understood what had hit them. Admiral Parker watched the destruction through his ship's sensors and felt a mixture of satisfaction and sadness. The Zephyrians had brought this on themselves by trying to enslave humanity, but he took no pleasure in the deaths of beings who were just following orders. "All ships prepare for immediate withdrawal," he ordered. "We've accomplished our mission." But Captain Stephen Davis, commanding the heavy cruiser Thunderstrike, detected something on his long-range sensors that changed everything. "Admiral, I'm reading a massive Zephyrian fleet approaching from the galactic core. Over 200 ships, including their newest dreadnoughts. The aliens had been faster to respond than expected. High Arbiter Zekth himself was leading a fleet to investigate the attack on Kepler Station. If the human ships were caught in normal space, they would be outnumbered 4-1 by enemies who knew the local space much better than they did." "All ships activate quantum tunnels immediately," Parker ordered. "We're leaving now." The human fleet vanished into quantum space just as the first Zephyrian reinforcements arrived. The aliens found only wreckage and confused distress signals from the few survivors of the attack. High Arbiter Zekth stood on his flagship's bridge, staring at the destruction and trying to understand how humans could have developed weapons. That seemed impossible. "Scan the debris field," Zekth ordered his science officers. "I want to know what weapons caused this damage." The analysis that came back made no sense. The destroyed ships showed signs of temporal aging, molecular disruption, and energy damage from sources that existed in multiple dimensions. According to every scientific theory the Zephyrians understood, such weapons could not exist. "Impossible," Zekth muttered. "The humans do not possess such technology. Our intelligence reports show them using primitive projectile weapons and chemical rockets." His tactical officer, a younger Zephyrian named Vextar, studied the sensor readings. "Arbiter, the attack patterns suggest highly advanced stealth technology and faster-than-light movement that does not use hyperspace. The humans appear to have capabilities that we were not aware of." Meanwhile, the human fleet had returned to the solar system without incident. They gathered at a secret rendezvous point near Saturn to assess the results of their first combat operation. The mood aboard the ships was a mixture of excitement and grim determination. "We proved that our technology works," Admiral Parker told his captains during the post-mission briefing. "But we also showed the aliens that humanity is not as helpless as they believed. They will respond with overwhelming force." Captain Julia Brooks nodded. "The question is whether they'll pull ships from other sectors to hunt us down, or if they'll reinforce the blockade around Earth." Dr. Patricia Morgan, monitoring communications from the Deep Sky facility, provided the answer. "Intelligence intercepts indicate that the Zephyrians are recalling fleets from across the galaxy. They're treating this as a major threat to their empire." The first strike had been more successful than anyone had dared hope. Kepler Station had been completely destroyed, and the Zephyrian Empire was now taking humanity seriously as a military threat. But success came with a price. The aliens would no longer underestimate human capabilities. President Rodriguez addressed the Zeus command staff from her secure facility. "We've crossed the line," she said. "There's no going back now. The Zephyrians will respond with everything they have." Admiral Parker agreed. "They'll bring their entire fleet to Earth, expecting to crush us quickly and make an example of humanity for the rest of the galaxy." General Helen Martinez smiled grimly. "Let them come. We've been preparing for this moment for 50 years. The Zephyrians think they know what human ships can do based on one attack. They have no idea what we're really capable of." The first strike was over, but the real war was just beginning. Across the galaxy, Zephyrian fleets were receiving new orders to converge on the human home system. High Arbiter Zekth was preparing to personally lead the largest military force in galactic history to crush what he still believed was a minor human uprising. He was about to discover that humanity had been planning for this war since the day they first met alien civilizations, and that the species he thought he was containing had actually been preparing to challenge the entire galactic order. The largest military fleet in galactic history assembled at the edge of the solar system. High Arbiter Zekth commanded over 10,000 Zephyrian warships, reinforced by vessels from a dozen allied species. They had come to crush what they believed was a human rebellion that threatened the natural order of the galaxy. Admiral Laura Thompson watched the alien armada through the sensors of her flagship, Zeus's Wrath. The human fleet numbered only 2,000 ships, but each vessel represented technology that was decades ahead of anything the aliens possessed. Today would determine whether humanity's secret preparations had been enough. "All ships report ready for combat," announced Captain Gary Williams from his position at the tactical station. "Quantum armor is active and all weapon systems are charged." The human fleet waited in the shadow of Jupiter, invisible to alien sensors. Their ships existed partially in quantum space, making them nearly impossible to detect until they chose to reveal themselves. The aliens had no idea that humanity had been watching their fleet assembly for weeks. High Arbiter Zekth stood on the bridge of his massive dreadnought, studying tactical displays that showed the inner solar system. His intelligence reports indicated that the humans had perhaps 100 primitive warships hiding near their home planet. He expected this battle to last less than an hour. "Begin the advance," Zekth ordered. "All ships maintain formation. We will show these upstart mammals what happens when they challenge Zephyrian authority." The alien fleet moved toward Earth in perfect formation, their ships darkening the space around them. They had fought dozens of rebellions over the centuries, and they had always won through overwhelming firepower and superior technology. This time would be no different. Admiral Thompson waited until the alien fleet had committed to their attack. Formation before giving the order that would change galactic history forever. "All ships, activate quantum tunnels. Execute Operation Thunder God." 2,000 human warships materialized throughout the Zephyrian formation, appearing from quantum space directly among the alien vessels. The surprise was complete. The aliens had been expecting to face a defensive formation near Earth, not to find enemy ships inside their own battle lines. Captain Gary Williams targeted the storm cannon at the nearest Zephyrian dreadnought. The weapon drew its power from an artificial black hole contained within the ship's hull, channeling gravitational forces that could tear holes in space-time itself. When the cannon fired, reality twisted around the beam. The alien dreadnought simply ceased to exist. The storm cannon did not destroy it in any conventional sense. Instead, it removed the ship from normal space-time, creating a brief void where the vessel had been. The surrounding Zephyrian ships were pulled toward the void before space snapped back to its normal configuration. Major Bobby Harrison led fighter squadrons that used quantum phase technology to appear inside enemy ships. His pilots delivered explosive charges directly to alien reactor cores before shifting back into quantum space. Dozens of Zephyrian vessels exploded from within as their power systems overloaded. "Command! This is Harrison," he reported as his squadron destroyed an entire alien cruiser wing in under 3 minutes. "Enemy ships have no defense against phase attacks. We're hitting them faster than they can respond." Dr. Sandy Miller's breakthrough in quantum computing allowed human ships to predict enemy movements before the aliens even made their decisions. The adaptive AI systems she had developed could analyze millions of tactical possibilities in seconds, making human vessels seem psychic in their ability to avoid enemy fire. Captain Julia Brooks brought her destroyer Liberty Bell through a formation of alien battleships, her quantum armor phasing in and out of normal space to avoid incoming weapons. The Zephyrian energy beams passed through her ship as if it were a ghost, while her return fire struck with devastating accuracy. "Their weapons can't touch us," Julia reported. "Quantum armor is working perfectly. We can phase out of normal space to avoid their attacks, then phase back in to deliver our own." The battle that was supposed to demonstrate Zephyrian superiority became a massacre. Human ships moved through the alien formation like wolves among sheep, their advanced technology, making the enemy fleet seem primitive by comparison. Weapons that should have been impossible struck targets that should have been untouchable. High Arbiter Zeketh watched his mighty fleet disintegrate around him and felt something he had never experienced before in 1,000 years of life. Fear. The humans were using technology that violated every scientific principle the Zephyrians understood. "All ships concentrate fire on the human flagship," he ordered desperately. If we can destroy their command ship, we can break their formation. Over 50 Zephyrian dreadnoughts focused their most powerful weapons on Zeus's wrath. Energy beams that could melt planets struck the human ship from all directions. For a moment, it seemed as if nothing could survive such concentrated firepower. Then Admiral Thompson's ship emerged from the bombardment completely undamaged. The quantum armor had shifted the vessel partially out of normal space during the attack, allowing the energy beams to pass through without effect. Zeus's wrath returned fire with weapons that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The Zephyrian flagship exploded as quantum torpedoes struck its hull from angles that should have been impossible. High Arbiter Zekth had perhaps 10 seconds to realize that his empire's technological superiority had been an illusion before his ship disintegrated around him. Commander Rick Turner led the heavy assault ships that targeted the largest alien vessels. His ship, Earth's Hammer, carried weapons that could disrupt matter at the molecular level. When his gravitational disruptors fired, enemy dreadnoughts simply fell apart as the forces holding their atoms together failed. "Command, this is Turner." He reported as another alien super dreadnought collapsed into its component atoms. "Molecular disruptors are performing beyond expectations. Enemy ships have no defense against quantum-level attacks." The Zephyrian fleet, which had controlled the galaxy for millennia through technological superiority, found itself completely outmatched by weapons and tactics they had never imagined possible. Ships that had been the pinnacle of alien engineering were destroyed by human vessels that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Captain Stephen Davis commanded the communications ship that broadcast the battle throughout the galaxy. Every species that had been enslaved by the Zephyrians could watch as the mighty insect empire was humbled by the humans they had tried to contain. "All resistance cells, this is humanity," Davis transmitted on every frequency. "The age of Zephyrian dominance is ending. Rise up and claim your freedom." Across the galaxy, alien species that had been suppressed for centuries began to rebel. The Corvaxi attacked Zephyrian supply bases in the Outer Rim. The Deltans shut down hyperspace routes that the Empire depended on for communication. Dozens of other species joined the uprising as they watched the impossible happening in the Sol system. Dr. Nicole Barnes monitored the battle from the Deep Sky facility and marveled at how completely human technology had surpassed alien science. 50 years of secret research had produced weapons and defenses that made the galaxy's former masters look like primitives. "The quantum armor is holding perfectly," she reported. "Human casualties are minimal. We're losing maybe one ship for every 100 alien vessels destroyed." General Helen Martinez coordinated with resistance movements throughout the galaxy as the battle raged. Her network of contacts included humans scattered across known space, but also members of dozens of alien species who had been waiting for this moment for generations. "Revolution is spreading faster than we hoped," Helen reported. "Every species that's been under Zephyrian rule is rising up. The Empire is collapsing from within." The battle for Earth lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the largest military force in galactic history had been reduced to scattered debris floating in space. Of the 10,000 alien ships that had arrived to crush humanity, fewer than 100 escaped to carry news of the defeat back to the Empire. Admiral Thompson stood on the bridge of Zeus's wrath and looked out at the wreckage of the Zephyrian fleet. Humanity had won the greatest military victory in galactic history, but she felt no joy in the destruction. This had been necessary to secure human freedom, but it came at a terrible cost in lives. "All ships, begin rescue operations," she ordered. "Search for survivors among the alien crews. We're not monsters, and we won't become what we fought against." President Rodriguez addressed the galaxy from her command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. Her message was broadcast on every frequency, reaching every world where intelligent life existed. "People of the galaxy," she began, Today marks the end of the Zephyrian Empire and the beginning of a new age of freedom. Humanity offers alliance to all species that seek to determine their own destiny among the stars. The war was over, but the real work of building a new galactic order was just beginning. 3 years had passed since the battle for Earth, and the galaxy looked completely different. The Zephyrian Empire had collapsed within months of their defeat, as species that had been enslaved for millennia rose up to claim their freedom. Humanity found itself at the center of a new galactic order based on cooperation rather than domination. President Carlos Johnson stood in the observation deck of New Geneva Station, watching ships from dozens of different species dock at the massive space habitat. The station served as the center of the new Galactic Congress, where representatives from over 300 worlds gathered to debate policy and coordinate exploration efforts. The Congress was nothing like the old Federation, which had been controlled by the Zephyrians from behind the scenes. Every species had an equal voice in the new government, and decisions were made through debate and consensus rather than imperial decree. It was messy and sometimes slow, but it was free. Dr. Rachel Green walked through the technology exchange centers that had been built throughout the station. Here, scientists from across the galaxy shared knowledge that had been suppressed under Zephyrian rule. Species that had been forced to use primitive technology for centuries were now developing innovations that amazed even human researchers. The Korvaxi have developed quantum computing systems that are actually more advanced than ours, Rachel reported to the Congress Science Committee. Their approach to information processing is completely different from human methods, but it's incredibly effective. The technology sharing program had produced breakthroughs that neither humans nor aliens could have achieved alone. Deltian biotechnology, combined with human quantum physics, had led to medical advances that could extend lifespans across all species. Vegan environmental science merged with human engineering had produced terraforming techniques that could transform dead worlds into gardens. Captain Emma Bell commanded the exploration fleet that ventured beyond the galaxy's edge. Her ship, the Pathfinder, was a joint construction project involving engineers from 12 different species. It carried the most advanced technology in known space, including drives that could travel between galaxies in weeks rather than centuries. Command, "This is Pathfinder," Emma reported from the edge of the Andromeda Galaxy. "We've discovered 17 star systems with planets that could support life. Initial surveys suggest at least 3 worlds with existing civilizations." The discovery of new galaxies filled with intelligent species had changed everything. Old conflicts that had torn apart the Milky Way seemed petty in comparison to the vast universe that lay beyond. Humanity and their new allies were no longer fighting over limited resources, but working together to explore infinite possibilities. Admiral Frank Collins oversaw the construction of deep space installations that served as stepping stones between galaxies. These massive facilities combined the best technology from dozens of species, creating havens for exploration ships that traveled farther from home than anyone had ever imagined possible. New Geneva Station was just the beginning, Frank told the assembled representatives. "We're building a network of installations that will allow us to explore the entire local galaxy cluster. We'll have permanent bases in Andromeda, the Magellanic Clouds, and beyond." The former Zephyrian worlds had been the biggest challenge for the new galactic order. Many of the insect species had been raised to believe that they were naturally superior to other forms of life. It had taken years of careful diplomacy to convince them that cooperation was more profitable than domination. Commander Rick Turner led the peacekeeping forces that maintained order in former imperial territories. His job was not conquest, but protection. The new galactic government existed to serve all species, including those that had once oppressed others. Most of the former Zephyrian colonies have adapted well to the new system, Rick reported. The younger generation of insects seems genuinely interested in cooperation. It's mainly the older military commanders who still dream of rebuilding the empire. Dr. Michelle Turner stood in the observation bay of humanity's first intergalactic exploration vessel, watching as the ship prepared to make the jump to Andromeda. The vessel was enormous, carrying not just human crew, but representatives from 40 different species. It was designed for a mission that could last decades. "Final systems check complete," announced the ship's AI, which had been programmed using principles from 12 different technological traditions. "All departments report ready for intergalactic transit." Michelle thought about how far humanity had come since the day the Zephyrians had tried to trap them in their home system. The blockade that was meant to contain human ambition had instead forced them to develop technology that made interstellar travel seem primitive. The Zeus protocol had been about more than just military technology. It had been about ensuring that humanity would never again be at the mercy of those who sought to limit their potential. The secret research that had won the war was now being shared freely with species across the galaxy. President Johnson received regular reports from exploration teams that were discovering wonders beyond imagination, ancient civilizations that had built structures spanning entire star systems, energy beings that existed in the cosmic radiation between galaxies, technologies that challenged every assumption about what was possible. "We're not just exploring new territories," Johnson told the Galactic Congress during its third annual session. "We're expanding our understanding of what life itself can become." The New Age had not been without challenges. Some species struggled to adapt to freedom after centuries of oppression. Others had technological capabilities that made them dangerous if they chose to use them for conquest rather than exploration. But the network of alliances that humanity had helped create was strong enough to handle these problems. Captain Julia Brooks now commanded the diplomatic corps that handled first contact with newly discovered civilizations. Her experience in the war against the Zephyrians had taught her the importance of approaching other species with respect rather than assumption of superiority. "Every new species we encounter teaches us something," Julia reported. "The crystalline entities in the Vega system think in ways that are completely alien to biological life, but their insights into quantum mechanics have revolutionized our understanding of physics." General Helen Martinez had transformed her wartime resistance network into a peacekeeping organization that helped newly liberated species establish their own governments. The skills that had been used to overthrow tyranny were now being applied to building democratic institutions. "Freedom is more difficult than slavery," Helen observed. "Under the Zephyrians, most species just followed orders. Now they have to learn to make decisions for themselves. It's harder, but it's worth it." The exploration vessel prepared for its jump to Andromeda as representatives from across the galaxy watched. This was more than just another space mission. It was a symbol of what the galactic community could achieve when working together toward common goals. Dr. Kevin Walsh, now elderly but still active in the Zeus research program, watched the launch from his facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. The technology that had once been humanity's greatest secret was now openly shared with anyone who wanted to learn. "We built Zeus to protect humanity," Kevin told his young assistants. "But it became something more. It became the foundation for a civilization that spans galaxies." The intergalactic ship activated its drives and vanished into quantum space, beginning a journey that would take it to places no one from the Milky Way had ever seen. Behind it, the galaxy continued its transformation from an empire built on fear to a community built on hope. Earth was no longer cut off from the stars. Instead, humanity had become the species that opened new roads to the heavens, leading a galactic civilization toward a future that was limited only by their imagination and their willingness to work together. The blockade that was meant to contain them had instead freed them to become something greater than anyone had ever dreamed possible. The age of Zephyrian dominance was a memory, replaced by an age of exploration and discovery that would continue for as long as there were stars to reach. In the end, they had not just activated Zeus, they had activated the unlimited potential of every species in the galaxy to become more than they had ever been before.